I hadn't seen my son in over 15 years, but when I returned home, nothing was as I expected. After 15 years abroad, I was finally coming back to Durham, North Carolina. A job opportunity had taken me to Tokyo, and for all these years, I had stayed away from home, telling myself it was temporary. I kept in touch with Troy, my son, over the years. He was always quiet, always doing well, never causing trouble. I thought by now he would have a family of his own, maybe even children, and I imagined a life full of success for him. But as my flight touched down, a strange unease settled in. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I'd been waiting for this moment for so long, returning to the place I'd left behind, to the people I loved. But Troy's usual texts, phone calls, and messages had stopped in the past few months. Every time I tried to call him, it went straight to voicemail. I thought he might be busy, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. When I arrived at the house, the usual warmth was gone. I expected a welcoming hug, maybe some laughter. But instead, there was silence. The house, which had once been so full of life, was eerily quiet. I called out, "Troy! Donna! I'm home!" But there was no reply. I stood in the doorway for a moment, scanning the familiar rooms. Everything was the same, yet somehow different. I made my way through the house, my footsteps echoing through the rooms. The furniture was where I remembered it. But there was something off about the place. The air was stale, as if it hadn't been lived in for a while. There were no signs of life, no messes from the usual bustle of family life. I called again, my voice more insistent. "Troy! Donna!" Finally, I heard something, a faint sound coming from upstairs. My heart skipped a beat. I couldn't place what it was, but I felt drawn to investigate. My feet moved almost automatically, and I found myself climbing the stairs toward Troy's room. When I reached the top of the stairs, I saw him, my son. But it wasn't the sight I had expected. There, in his childhood bedroom, he was on his hands and knees, scrubbing the floor. His clothes were old and worn, his face covered in sweat. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. The image hit me like a punch in the gut. "Troy," I said, my voice shaking. "What are you doing?" He looked up, startled. For a moment, there was confusion in his eyes. Like he didn't even recognize me. Then he blinked, and his face softened. "Dad?" His voice was quiet, almost fragile. I didn't know you were coming today." He stood up slowly, brushing off his clothes, but there was something about the way he moved that made me uneasy. He seemed so defeated. "What's going on here, son?" I asked, stepping closer, my heart heavy with concern. "Why are you cleaning like this? In your own room?" Troy hesitated, his gaze dropping to the floor. He opened his mouth, but no words came out at first. Finally, he mumbled, "I've just been keeping things in order, Dad. I've been busy." His words didn't make sense. This wasn't the Troy I knew, the confident young man who used to play basketball with me in the driveway. This was someone else entirely. "Busy with what?" I pressed. Before he could respond, Donna walked into the room. Her appearance was as polished as ever, but her eyes were cold, calculating. She barely acknowledged me with a nod, her gaze flicking from me to Troy. "Well, well, look who finally decided to show up," Donna said, her voice flat, not warm like I had hoped. She wasn't acting like the woman I remembered. There was a distance in her tone, almost as if she was irritated by my presence. "Troy's just cleaning up. He's been doing a lot of work around here." "Cleaning?" I echoed, still trying to understand what was happening. "What do you mean? Why is he doing this?" Donna smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "He's just been taking care of things, Jeff. You wouldn't understand. Things have changed around here." I looked at Troy, but he didn't meet my gaze. He looked lost. And Donna's words didn't sit right with me. There was something off about her, about the way she was handling this situation. I didn't know what had happened in the years I'd been gone, but I knew one thing for sure. Something was seriously wrong. "Where's the rest of the family?" I asked, trying to change the subject, to get a clearer sense of what had happened during my absence. "Just around," Donna replied vaguely, her eyes flicking toward Troy. She didn't elaborate, and I felt a cold wave of unease wash over me. I looked at Troy again, but this time his expression was more guarded. It was as if he was keeping a secret, hiding something from me. I wanted to push him further, to ask what had really been going on, but he seemed so distant, so different from the son I once knew. Donna placed a hand on Troy's shoulder, guiding him away from me. "You've had a long flight, Jeff. Why don't you rest? We can talk later." As they moved away, I felt a strange mixture of concern and confusion. Something was wrong here, deeply wrong, and I was determined to get to the bottom of it. How would you feel if you returned home to find a loved one living in a situation like this? What would you do next? I stood frozen in the doorway, still trying to process what I had just walked into. Troy, my son, the same young man who used to play basketball with me and talk about his dreams, was now scrubbing the floor of his own bedroom like it was some menial chore. His body language screamed defeat, and his avoidance of eye contact made my stomach turn. He wasn't the same person I had raised. The joy I had expected to feel upon seeing him was now replaced with confusion and growing concern. I took a step closer, trying to make sense of the situation. "Troy, you've got to tell me what's going on. Why are you cleaning like this? What happened to the son I left behind?" Troy looked up, his eyes betraying his embarrassment. "I'm just cleaning, Dad." "It's no big deal," he muttered, wiping his hands on his t-shirt, trying to brush off the situation. But the tone of his voice, that slight tremble, told me it was more than just cleaning. This wasn't normal. He wasn't just tidying up. He looked drained, as if his life force had been sucked out of him. "Troy," I pressed again, trying to get through to him. "What's really going on?" Before he could answer, Donna stepped into the room. Her presence was like a sharp contrast to the unease that filled the air. She was impeccably put together as usual, but the coldness in her eyes was unmistakable. There was no warmth in her greeting. "Jeff," she said, her voice flat, "you're home." I could tell she wasn't thrilled to see me. There was something about her demeanor, the way she held herself, that felt off. I turned to her, not giving up on the situation. "Donna, what's going on here? Why is Troy cleaning like this? He looks different. He's not the son I remember." Donna crossed her arms and tilted her head slightly, as if studying me. "Troy's been through a lot recently," she said, her tone sharp. "His business failed, and we've had to make some changes. He's been taking care of things around the house. It's how we do things now." Her words didn't sit right with me. The way she spoke about Troy as if he were some problem to be managed, like he wasn't capable of standing up for himself, made my skin crawl. There was something controlling about it. She had no empathy, no compassion in her voice, just cold practicality. "Troy needs discipline," Donna added, her voice now cold and unyielding. "You wouldn't understand, Jeff. You were never around to see what he needed." She said it so matter-of-factly, as if she had all the answers. As if I had failed. The words hit me harder than I expected. "Discipline?" I repeated. My mind was spinning. Troy didn't need discipline. He needed support. He needed to know that I cared. But Donna seemed to think otherwise. I turned back to Troy, hoping to find some sign of the son I once knew. But his face was blank. He wasn't even defending himself. It was as if the spark in him had been extinguished long ago. "That's enough," Donna said, breaking my thoughts. "You don't know what we've been through. Troy is doing what he needs to do. He's not a child anymore, Jeff." I was shaken. Donna's behavior was controlling, almost suffocating. This wasn't about a failed business or financial problems. There was something deeper going on here. Something much more insidious. And Donna, with her cold words and tight grip on Troy, was at the center of it all. I couldn't shake the feeling that Troy wasn't just a victim of bad luck. He was a victim of Donna's manipulation. But what was she hiding? Why had she turned my son into this shell of himself? I didn't have all the answers. But I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't leave things like this. I needed to find out what had happened to my son before it was too late. What do you think is really going on with Donna? Why do you think she's so controlling over Troy? Tell me in the comments section. The longer I stayed in that house, the more I began to notice small things that didn't add up. Troy had always been a quiet guy, but now he seemed almost lifeless. He barely spoke unless prompted, and when he did, his words were hesitant. It was like he didn't believe he had a voice anymore. He didn't make eye contact, and he certainly didn't challenge Donna, something Troy used to do. It was as if he had been stripped of his will, and Donna was the only one who held the power. One morning, I tried to have a simple conversation with him over breakfast, but he barely reacted. Donna, sitting across the table, had the same cold, controlling demeanor she'd shown me before. Her eyes never left Troy, always watching him like she was guarding him from something. "Troy, why don't you go out with me for a bit? We could catch up, grab a drink, just like old times," I suggested, trying to give him a chance to reconnect. But Troy's gaze flicked toward Donna, who immediately placed a hand on his arm. "He's busy, Jeff. We've got things to take care of here," she interjected with that same unnerving calmness. "Troy doesn't need distractions." Troy's expression remained blank. He didn't speak up. He didn't argue. It was as if he'd completely lost the ability to assert himself. It made my stomach turn. This wasn't the son I raised. This wasn't the young man who used to stand up for himself. Something was deeply wrong. Later that day, when Donna stepped out for a quick errand, I saw my chance. I needed to talk to Troy alone, to understand what was really happening. I found him in the study, staring at the computer screen, a slight frown on his face. He didn't notice me at first. "Troy, I need to ask you something," I said gently, sitting down beside him. He turned to me slowly, his face a mix of hesitation and unease. "What is it, Dad?" I leaned in, trying to keep my voice soft. "What's really going on here? This isn't just about your business, is it? I've been watching you, and I can tell something's wrong. You're not the same." Troy looked down at his hands, his fingers nervously tapping the desk. "It's complicated, Dad. Donna's just been helping me. I don't know how to explain it." "Helping you?" I pressed. "Or controlling you. Troy, you can't live like this. You don't owe her everything." Troy didn't respond right away. He just stared at the desk, almost like he was waiting for her to walk back in and tell him what to do. Just then, I spotted a drawer slightly ajar at the side of the desk. A glint of papers caught my eye, and something told me I needed to look. I stood up and walked over to the drawer, my heart pounding in my chest. Inside, I found a pile of documents, financial statements, signed contracts, and legal papers. My hands trembled as I flipped through them, trying to make sense of it all. What I uncovered sent a chill down my spine. Donna had been using legal documents to gain control over Troy's assets. There were papers showing that Troy had signed away control of his business accounts, his savings, even the house. The more I looked, the more I realized that Troy had been manipulated into giving up everything, his money, his independence, everything that once made him who he was. These weren't just bad investments or debts. This was a calculated effort to strip him of his life. One document caught my eye. It was a transfer of funds signed by Troy, authorizing Donna to take control of his business accounts. Another showed a loan in Troy's name that he never agreed to, co-signed by Donna. It all started to click. Donna wasn't just controlling Troy's personal life. She was controlling his finances, his future, his freedom. I sat back in the chair, trying to process what I had just uncovered. This wasn't just about financial ruin. It was about manipulation on a scale I hadn't anticipated. Donna had used Troy's trust to trap him, slowly and methodically taking away his autonomy. She had reduced him to a puppet, and he didn't even realize it. Just then, I heard the sound of footsteps approaching. I quickly closed the drawer, my heart racing. Donna had come back, and I had no idea how much she knew. But one thing was certain. I wasn't leaving until I exposed the full extent of what she had done. Do you think Troy knew about this manipulation, or was he completely unaware? Share your thoughts in the comments. I couldn't sit idly by anymore. My stomach churned with the weight of what I had uncovered in that drawer. Donna's manipulation of Troy wasn't just financial. It was emotional, calculated, and cruel. She had taken everything from him, and it was time to confront her. The house was quiet when Donna returned, the air thick with tension. I waited for her in the living room, sitting in the same chair where I'd had countless family conversations in the past. She walked in, her usual controlled demeanor immediately locking the door to any attempt at civility. She didn't look surprised to see me. She was already prepared for the confrontation I knew was coming. "Jeff," she said, her voice clipped. "What is it this time?" I didn't waste time with pleasantries. "We need to talk. About Troy. About everything you've been doing." Donna's eyes narrowed, and I could feel the coldness in her gaze. "What are you talking about? I don't know where this is coming from, but I assure you, I'm doing what's best for Troy." I stood up, the anger building inside me. "Best for him? You've been controlling him for years, Donna. You've manipulated him, made him feel like he couldn't survive without you. That's not helping him. That's using him as your pawn." Her face remained composed, but I could see a flicker of unease. "You don't understand, Jeff," she said, her voice growing sharp. "Troy's been lost. He needed someone to guide him. You weren't here. You left him behind." I took a step toward her. "You didn't guide him. You broke him down. You've made him feel small, inferior, and like he's nothing without you. You've drained his will, his confidence, and now his money. That's abuse, Donna." She stiffened, but then, to my shock, she gave a small, cold laugh. "I didn't do it for me, Jeff. I did it for him. He was drifting, lost in his own mind. You wouldn't understand, because you weren't here when he needed you. He was out of control. He didn't know who he was." I had to step in. The words hit me like a punch. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't even pretending to care about Troy's well-being. It was all about control. So you've been controlling him for years, using his vulnerabilities to keep him dependent on you? Donna didn't flinch. Instead, her tone shifted, becoming even colder. Yes, I had to do it, Jeff. He was lost. He couldn't make decisions. You weren't there to help him, so I had to. And you know what? It worked. That was the moment I realized that this wasn't just about finances or some failed business. This was about power, about Donna making sure Troy would never leave her side. She wanted him broken and dependent on her. No, I said firmly. This ends now. I'm going to help Troy regain control of his life. You won't stand in my way. Donna's eyes flashed with anger, but she didn't say anything. She knew she had lost the battle. The truth was out in the open now, and I wasn't going to let her continue to manipulate my son. What would you do in my shoes after discovering this? Would you take action immediately, or wait to gather more information? Determined to free Troy from Donna's grip, I knew the first step was to get legal help. I couldn't just confront Donna and expect her to let go. I needed a professional, someone who could navigate the complexities of financial manipulation, emotional abuse, and control. After all, Donna had made it clear she wasn't going to relinquish power easily. I found a lawyer who specialized in family law and financial disputes. We sat in his office, surrounded by stacks of legal papers. He was confident, but I could see the concern in his eyes when I explained the situation. "This won't be easy," he warned. "You're dealing with a woman who's controlled your son's life for years. We'll need solid evidence." The case began to take shape over the next few weeks. The lawyer worked tirelessly, reviewing all the documents I had found: bank statements, signed contracts, and legal forms showing how Donna had taken control of Troy's finances. But as the case progressed, Donna didn't sit idly by. She fought back with everything she had. She accused me of meddling in Troy's life, claiming I was trying to tear their marriage apart. Worse, she pushed the narrative that Troy wasn't mentally fit to make decisions on his own. "Troy has been through a lot," Donna argued in the court filings. "He needs someone to make decisions for him. He's vulnerable. He's not capable of standing on his own." Her words stung, but I knew she was trying to play the victim, making it seem like I was the one trying to disrupt their lives, when in reality, she was the one who had been controlling him all along. Troy's doubts started to surface. For years, he had trusted Donna, depended on her, but now, with the legal battle unfolding, he was questioning everything. Could he really trust me? Was he really capable of making decisions for himself? Or had Donna been right all along? "I don't know what to do, Dad," Troy admitted one night, his voice filled with uncertainty. "I've been under her control for so long. What if I'm wrong? What if she was just trying to protect me?" My heart ached for him. He had been manipulated into believing he couldn't survive without Donna. I reassured him, "You are not broken. Troy, you don't need her to make decisions for you. You can stand on your own. We just need to prove it." It wasn't easy. Troy still wasn't fully convinced, but I could see the small spark of hope in his eyes. We weren't just fighting for financial freedom anymore. We were fighting for Troy's independence, for his right to reclaim his life. But even as we moved forward, I knew it would take time. The legal system wasn't a quick fix. It was a slow grind. Then I uncovered something that made my stomach turn. In one of the documents, I found proof that Donna had been coercing Troy into signing things when he was emotionally vulnerable. He was pressured into making decisions when he was at his lowest, without truly understanding what he was agreeing to. The lawyer was confident we could win, but it would be a long and difficult road ahead. There was no quick fix to undo the years of manipulation Donna had so carefully crafted. Do you think the legal system will be enough to free Troy from Donna's control? Why or why not? The day of the trial finally arrived. I could feel the weight of it in every step I took into that courtroom. Troy stood by my side, but I could see the fear in his eyes. This wasn't just about money or a failed business. It was about exposing the truth, the control Donna had exerted over him for so long. But the tension was high. Both of us were on edge. Donna entered the courtroom first, walking in with her lawyer, her posture straight and confident, as if she were the one who held all the power. She knew how to play the game, but I was ready to take her down. This wasn't her victory to claim. Not anymore. I glanced over at Troy, who was standing next to me, his eyes wide with anxiety. I could see how torn he was. For years, he had seen Donna as his protector. Now, he was here to stand up against her, unsure of what the outcome would be. But this was his chance to take control of his own life again. I knew we had to win this. For him. For the life he deserved. The courtroom was tense, the air thick with anticipation. Donna's lawyer immediately started trying to twist the narrative. He painted Troy as emotionally unstable, a man who needed care and control. Troy Matthews has been through a lot, the lawyer claimed. He is not in the right state of mind to manage his own life or finances. My client, Donna Matthews, was merely stepping in to ensure his well-being. My blood boiled, but I kept calm. I had prepared for this. We weren't going to let her lie her way out of this. It was time for me to speak. I stood up and walked to the front of the courtroom, my heart pounding in my chest. I could feel the eyes of the entire room on me. The lawyer tried to object, but the judge allowed me to present my evidence. I started with the bank statements, evidence that Donna had drained Troy's savings, signed documents where Troy was coerced into giving up control of his business. Each document showed how Donna had manipulated him, pressuring him into decisions he wasn't fully aware of. I could feel the tide beginning to turn as I revealed the truth. With every piece of evidence, I watched Donna's confidence begin to crack. Her lawyer tried to deflect, but there was no denying what had happened. Donna's control over Troy was no longer a secret. The truth was finally coming to light. Then, in a moment of desperation, Donna stood up. Her voice cracked as she tried to regain control. This isn't what it looks like," she stammered. "I was just trying to help him. He couldn't handle it on his own. I did what I had to do." But it was too late. Her mask of calm finally slipped, revealing the true extent of her manipulation. The courtroom watched in silence as her facade crumbled. Donna's defense had fallen apart. She tried to salvage her image, but the damage was done. The truth was clear to everyone now. Troy stood beside me, his expression a mix of relief and disbelief. The weight he had carried for so long was finally starting to lift. We had done it. We were on the verge of victory. How do you think Donna feels now that everything is out in the open? The days following the trial felt like a blur. The tension of the courtroom had finally lifted, and now, as I stood beside Troy, I watched him take the first steps toward reclaiming his life. The judge ruled in our favor. Donna was forced to leave the house, and Troy regained control of his finances and his life. It was a victory, but it wasn't just about the house or the money. It was about freeing Troy from years of manipulation. Donna tried to fight the ruling, but there was no legal ground left to stand on. Her attempt to control Troy was over, and I saw her for what she truly was, a woman who had built her world on lies. She would have to live with the consequences of her actions, while Troy could finally live freely. The first thing Troy did was move into a small apartment in downtown Durham. It wasn't much, but it was his own. He could breathe again. The weight that had crushed him for so long was gone, and it was replaced with the sense of possibility he hadn't felt in years. It was a new beginning. I helped him with the move, but even as we unpacked boxes and set up his new life, I could see the transformation happening before my eyes. Troy was different. The light had returned to his eyes, the spark of ambition, the confidence to make decisions without looking to someone else for approval. For the first time in a long time, he felt free. Troy didn't stop there. With my help, he started a new business. It was a small tech startup, something he had always dreamed of, but never had the courage to pursue under Donna's control. The process wasn't easy, but Troy threw himself into it. He was determined to build something that was his, something he could be proud of, and slowly but surely, the business began to grow. One evening, after a long day of work, we sat together on the porch of his new apartment, the sun setting over the horizon. It was quiet, peaceful, a stark contrast to the chaos of the past. The weight that had once burdened Troy was now lifted. We sat there, just the two of us, reflecting on the journey we had been through. "I never thought I'd get here, Dad," Troy said quietly, looking out at the city. "I was lost. I didn't even know who I was anymore. But now I feel like I have control over my life again." I smiled, a feeling of pride swelling in my chest. "You always had control, Troy. You just needed to see it for yourself." We sat in silence for a moment, taking in the peacefulness of it all. It wasn't just about the legal battle, it was about the bond we had rebuilt, the strength we had found in each other. I had thought I was coming home to help my son, but in a way, he had helped me too. The story had come full circle. Troy had reclaimed his life, and we had reclaimed our relationship. What do you think Troy's future holds now that he's free? Do you think he'll ever fully trust again? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as interesting and even more intriguing than you can ever imagine, so do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.